lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. Today I am reviewing Stamped Racism, Antiracism, and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. So this is a young adult or younger readers remix of Ibram X. Kendi's Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America, which is definitely a more adult book and much more scholarly, much more a standard history look at racism. Whereas Stamped the Remix by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi is much more approachable. It's broken down into much more relatable language for a younger audience. So it's like a 12 and up. He's writing towards middle schooler and high schoolers. But if you're an adult like me, it's also a really good starting place regardless. So this is an introduction, a brief overview of race relations in America and how we got here and the evolution of racism and anti-racist ideas, and kind of a starting point to where we can go from here. One of the things about this book is that it puts us all on the same level in order to properly move forward and try to become a more anti-racist society. We need to acknowledge the past, we need to look at where we've been, and we need similar vocabularies and frameworks so that we can talk about it. Because our history books that were taught here in the States are a bit muddled. They're definitely from a certain angle, and it's not the best place to start. Even if you're in a pretty, like I grew up in a pretty diverse neighborhood and had good, had decent conversations about racism and about the history of the civil rights movement and slavery, and had plenty of African-American teachers teaching us this also. Like, my American history teacher was Black, and she definitely taught it to me from that perspective, but like, not like this. This got way into it and talking about an evolution of ideas. This book looks at racism through ideas and how we got to where we are. And we're framing everything through basically three perspectives. There are segregationist, or what I think of as like true racist ideas, which are basically that you are an inferior because you are different, that you can't change. So somebody who is Black is always going to be less than, just based on the color of their skin. And Jason Reynolds like remixes this and explains that these are haters. They're going to hate you no matter what. Just because you look different or different than them, that you're not like them, they hate you. Then we have assimilationists. So these are people who think that you can change and be better by acting more white, basically. If you act more white, then you will be treated white. So they like you, but they like you in quotation marks. They like you because you are like them. And if you don't act white, if you act Black, then you kind of deserve it, I guess. And then the third idea set is anti-racist. So there is nothing wrong with you because of your race or because of your skin color. The problem is only with racism. That racism and racist ideas are what is wrong. And these are people who love you. They like completely, wholly love you just because of who you are and because you are like you. And that is the goal, is to be anti-racist and have a society based off anti-racist ideas. So the main point of this book is that the only thing wrong with Black people is that we think there is something wrong with Black people. And the only thing better about being white is that we think there is something better about being white. And if we can shift the conversation and the policies we have in place in this country to reflect real anti-racist ideas, then we can have a real anti-racist society and have a society that is really equal, so that the color of your skin matters as much as the color of the clothes you're wearing. We're looking at the history of America, all 400 years of it, and even going back before the colonies, going back to Europe and looking at some of the racism, and the first racist in history in the 1400s, who discovered that if you vilify one set of people, it can benefit you because you are then better than them. What is the opposite of inferior? I can't remember what that word was. But this is kind of the whole founding of America, is that there is capitalism and things to be gained by treating others worse. And so you have people who are benefiting off of racism who keep spreading racist ideas. Because slavery benefits the people who own slaves and the economy in that area. And even looking at like the founding of the country, and there are white Americans who are poor, but if you point to Black Americans and say that they're worse than you and hey, at least you're better than those people, then those people who maybe aren't benefiting from slavery directly will still look at the Blacks as being less than just because it benefits them also. And so to have an anti-racist society, we need to fight all of that and all the stuff that has been ingrained in our heads and just push forward. This book is also framed as not being a history book, but being a present book. It's in order to understand where we are going and where the future and what we want to achieve in the future, which is an anti-racist society, we need to look at how we got to the racist society we have. And so we are looking at the history through the guise of how it impacts the future and how that can change what we are doing in our daily lives and our activism and just like how we interact with each other. There's also the point that like the three main lenses to look at ideas, the segregationist, assimilist, and anti-racist ideas. Not every person or every idea has to fit squarely into one of those three. You can have an idea that fits multiples. You could have an idea that is kind of anti-racist and assimilationist, or an idea that is kind of segregationist and assimilationist, and that people can also evolve and change, and society can evolve and change with them. So examples that he gave were like W.E. Du Bois, who I didn't really know that much about going into this, but like he's one of those people that's always mentioned during Black History Month. But like looking at it through this lens, he's more of a assimilationist at the beginning with his talented 10th. And if you are one of the best, like trying to always promote the top Blacks, the best of the best, those are who are exceptional. And that doesn't do a service to the other 90%, to those who are lower, to those who are just working. And so as W.E. Du Bois learned more and got more information and had more life experiences, he became more of an anti-racist. And so people can evolve. We also have people like Thomas Jefferson, who is one of the founding fathers. He's writing the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal, except that he owned slaves. He grew up in a household where his parents owned slaves and he benefited from slavery. But then as he grew up, he still owned them. Even when he thought he had Black friends, but you're still paying them and you still own them, so are they really your friends? And how he tries to help them by buying the Louisiana Purchase and trying to create a separate area for them where they can be on their own, away from whites, but also like that's still not anti-racist. That's still let's separate them. So like, yeah. There's also a lot of not everybody is good and not everybody is bad, and not every idea is completely good and not every idea is completely bad also in here. At least that's what I was getting from it, from like obviously looking at this through my own lens. I definitely recommend this book, especially if you are younger, if you're a teen and are trying to understand racism, go read this book. If you're a librarian or a school teacher who is talking to teens and getting them to read books, also recommend this book. It's amazing. But also like adults should read this book too. If you just want a quick overview, and by quick I mean it's 4 hours rather than the like 16 or something that the original Stamped from the Beginning is, abbreviated version. This is a good starting place and a good framework to like start having discussions and start learning more and knowing where you need to go next. So yeah, let's work towards an anti-racist America. Sorry, I've been sick the last week. I've got this earache, and it's still like, I still feel like I have swimmer's ear, and my ear is clogged, and it's annoying and distracting. Also, there's a lot in this book, and I'm sure I forgot stuff because I put off filming the review, and now it's been like over a week since I listened to this book. So I'm sorry if I didn't hit everything, but go read it for yourself because it's amazing. Jason Reynolds' audiobooks are always amazing. His narration and his ability to write is amazing, but also his ability to read it and make it sound conversational and relatable is also like stunning. So go read this book. Basically, it is totally a 5 out of 5 stars. So, yeah. Peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.